Hello, hello, hello. Happy Saturday. I got scared for a second because this camera is not on. It's supposed to be on and it's not. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't see myself. And I have a whole full studio setup going here and I'm hoping that it's working the way that it's supposed to be working. Okay, good. Zan is here. What's going on? Let me put my chat overlay up over there. I didn't realize that my face was so big, but there it is. Okay, cool. Super excited to have you here. Happy Saturday. If this is your first time joining me, please tell me your name. Tell me where you are joining me from. We've got an advanced session today. It's time to up level. It's time to upgrade. It's time to step into your next level self. And so I got plenty of beginner topics, and now it's time to move into the next level. And so we're gonna be talking about some advanced level conversion strategies today. What's going on? Thank you. I kind of like the new setup as well. It's like I got the laptop here in case I need to look down and see the comments, but I'm looking over here. It's good. So this is what I bought. Let me show you what I grabbed. Um, Making stuff fall. But I got this Black Magic i10 thing. I don't know if you can see it. It's like a full studio switcher. It's supposed to allow me to broadcast in 1080 and also put like a mic in. Anyways, I couldn't figure it out on time. So we're going with the normal studio setup for right now. Okay, good. If this is your first time joining me, tell me your name, where you're joining me from. If you're an OG, say hello. Say hi. You can see we got Tacinda. What's going on? Glad to have you here. Carolyn is here. Jillian is here. Hello, Jillian. Sarah Jane is here. Welcome. Hello, Curated Rebel. Glad to have you here. Okay, cool. The other thing was that I couldn't figure out, as I was trying to like set that up, I also couldn't figure out how to see the comments as they're coming in. So I think we maybe just need to have like a little quick side conversation about how sometimes you have this vision of what you would like, and I always do this when I say vision, but like I'm trying to pull it out of my brain. Sometimes you have this vision of what you want to do and what you want to create. And sometimes you just got to take baby steps to get there, baby steps. So my first step was getting all this stuff in place. And then the next step will be, maybe using this thing and actually getting it to work so to have a high quality live stream. But so far, looking good. What's going on, Chantel? Chris is here from snowy Michigan. Super excited to have you. What's going on, Rev One? Glad to have you here. Who's excited for these next level conversion strategies? I'm very excited about it as well. Let me go ahead and do my intro so we can go ahead and get started. Okay, welcome. Super excited to have you here. My name, I think I said that like 15 times. My name is LaTisha. I'm a mentor for high achievers. I'm known for creating 6 and 7 figure earners by helping clients identify and dissolve the subconscious blocks that are preventing them from reaching their full potential. My clients are known for using my strategies to generate 18K in 2 weeks, 10K in 10 days, 95K in 12 months, 150K in 6 days, among other results. And that is why you are here today, right? To get on the path to getting some of those results for yourself. I broadcast every Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern. That's 12 p.m. Eastern. I'm changing that up a little bit. So from now on, I will be doing I'll be doing one hidden live stream. One hidden live stream each month. So I'll only be going live 3 times out of the 4. So I'll still be live every Saturday at 12 with the exception of like holidays and my birthday. But one of those is going to be hidden. And more details on that. If you're on my email list, you'll get it. If you get the text messages, then you'll find out about it. So if you've made a purchase, you're on my text list, you'll get a notification. If you're on my email list, I will email you. If you're not on either, you need to go to latisha.tv/free, download any of my free trainings, guides, or PDFs, and you're in there like swimwear. I believe you can create your life, but first you have to decide, because your dreams deserve your decision and you deserve to achieve your dreams, but only you decide to do whatever it takes to get them. So with that said, let's hop into today's topic. Okay. The only thing that I need to change and fix is like this. I really like this camera because this is the Logitech. Um, and it's a really good webcam. My only issue with it is that it shows so much. Like you can see both. I don't think it really needs to be that big, but here we are, and here we go. Okay, so first thing I want to know from you as we talk about these next level conversion strategies is number one, what are you selling? I asked this question inside of our free group. If you're not a member of the group, you're going to want to go to latisha.tv/group and you'll join our free group. But inside of that group, it's called the digital, I just changed the name. It's called the Digital Course Creators and Coaches Community. Inside of the group, we talk about how to sell digital products, how to sell courses. I do, some trainings also on like tech and things like that. But I asked the question of like, what do you sell? And the answers were varied. But what I want to know for this one is literally like, what is your offer? So are you selling coaching packages? Are you selling a course? So let's just kind of keep it simple. You're selling coaching packages, you're selling a course. Let me know which one it is. What's going on, Arva? Glad to have you here. Nancy is here as well. So are you selling coaching or are you selling a course? Which of the two is it, or both? Are you selling coaching or are you selling a course? Cool. It says that there's an error. Can you guys still see me and hear me okay? It says excellent connection. Okay, good. All right, so it's still working. Okay, good. All right, so we got Jacinda says both. What's going on, Wilton? Coaching and courses. Okay, cool. Course. Okay. So we got a little bit of both coaching. Okay, good. Both coaching, both courses. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share okay, they come in, they all come in at once. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share this process assuming that you're selling coaching, and then I'll include what are the nuances if you're selling a course. So let me first clarify the difference between how you can use these next level conversion strategies for selling a course versus selling coaching. If you're selling coaching in general, you're going to have a conversation and you're going to close via a conversation, especially if you are selling a high ticket or premium coaching offer. Generally speaking, you're going to have a conversation. If you are selling a course, typically you're going to be selling that from a sales page. So your final conversion piece will be the sales page. And some people have a course that also includes group coaching. So we're going to assume that that's coaching. Okay. So we just want to make sure we kind of keep everything clear. So based on what you're selling, we want to make sure that we understand the 4 steps that people have to go through in order to make it to the end. So there's a journey that each person has to go through before they become a client. And it usually starts with discovery. So step 1, they have to discover who you are, because if they don't know who you are, then they can't buy from you, right? And then step 2, they usually end up doing some sort of research. When they do this research, they're usually trying to figure out, are you legit? Do you really know what you're talking about? Is what you're saying true versus some of the other things that they're learning or trying to figure out? And then they kind of go into a research mode. And then the third thing is typically a conversation. So this conversation might be on the phone, it might be through your sales page if you're selling a course, but there's some sort of conversation where there's a back and forth, a push and pull of, what do you desire? This is what I offer. Okay, great, let's make it happen. And then the final step is the sale. The final step is the sale. So that's when we actually have a deposit, we have a commitment, we have a purchase. That is the final step. Okay. All right. So when we want to optimize each step of this conversion journey, and this is why I said this is next level advanced conversion process, because taking each piece of the journey and paying attention to each piece of the journey is usually only something that someone does when they're already making sales, right? If you're not making sales yet, then the goal is like, okay, I just got to make sales. I just got to do everything. Just got to try everything. I got to, spaghetti it, whatever I got to do. I got to make it happen. And if that's you, if you're still not quite there making sales, then that's okay. This is still going to be applicable to you. And the reason is it's going to allow you to move that much faster because you'll know what you should be looking for at each level. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to optimize the ending part of the process, which is the sales process, which I know it could sound a little bit crazy because you might be thinking, well, how do I optimize the sales process if I'm either not bringing in the right people or I'm not hearing yeses? Like, how do I actually optimize the sales process? And so when we think about optimizing the sales process, we want to think about what actually causes someone to buy. What causes them to make that decision where they say, okay, great, this is exactly what I want, this is what I need, and I know it can help me. And the answer to that question is, generally speaking, the reason that someone buys is because they feel like they're getting more than what they're giving. If you've ever thought about when you make a purchase or when you decide to, invest in something or, just buy anything in general, right? Like when I bought this mixer thing, whatever it is, I was like, okay, great. That's worth it because it's going to allow me to do XYZ thing. I also just invested to upgrade my restream so that I could have a little bit of a higher quality live stream that comes out, because I think before I was only able to broadcast in 720p. I want to be able to be, HD. And I've got my camera going as well to capture the 4K video. But my point is that the only reason that I made that purchase to make that upgrade is because I felt like I was getting more than I was giving out. So there's a lot of other psychological reasons that people buy. There's a lot of different psychological triggers. We talked about a little bit of that last week. But even if you haven't made sales, you have to have an understanding of, I have to communicate the value. When you communicate the value and the person on the other side feels like they're getting more than what they're giving, that's when a sale happens. Okay. So the way we optimize this, the way we improve this, the way we make this better is by getting really, really clear on the outcome of what we offer, not like the individual pieces, but the actual outcome. So this is the reason why I was mentioning earlier, like inside of the group, I asked, what do you sell? And we got a lot of different answers. There were some really good answers on there. There were some answers from, they were my students, right? So I have to pat myself on the back, but where some people answered, I am selling, freedom. I'm selling flexibility. I'm selling, they were really focused on the outcome rather than I sell 6 coaching calls. And the reason that you have to be really clear on what you sell is because that's how you'll optimize that part of the process. Make sense? Okay. Good. So that's the first thing, is optimizing that final piece. Okay. Optimizing the sale. So I have a question for you now. Who here wants to get more people on the phone? Who wants to get more booked calls? Is that you? Or you're just like, I don't want any sales calls at all? And the reason that I ask that is because I've talked a lot in the past about my 0 sales call method and how you don't have to do sales calls. And it's true, you don't have to do sales calls. I actually had a DM conversation just yesterday where the young lady was like, okay, I'm ready to go. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to send you the link. And, we're still having that conversation. But my point is that you don't have to transfer to a phone call if you don't want to. Now, can I do that with like 20 people in a day? No, I probably would get exhausted. But, the one-off here and there, that's great. So if you want to book more calls and you want to bring more people into your coaching program, then you'll want to pay attention, because the next thing that you want to optimize for this next level conversion is the conversation. You want to be able to optimize the conversation. And the conversation is where I interact with you, you interact with me, and we both come to a conclusion that this is a good fit. Okay? Ooh, I like it. I'm selling confidence. Good. So we both come to the conclusion that this is a good fit. It's a good fit for you. It's a good fit for me. Now, the way that we optimize this part of the process is we first have to determine who is a good fit client. Like, you have to know who your ideal client is and who your avatar is. Now, I'll be honest, my avatar has actually shifted just in the past couple of weeks. And it feels a little bit unsettling sometimes when you've been speaking to a certain type of person and then you suddenly realize that you want to speak to a different type of person and your avatar changes slightly or it completely shifts. It feels unsettling. Why? Because you suddenly realize that I've got to redo some of my messaging. I've got to redo some of my marketing. I've got to show up in a different way. The whole reason that I have this topic of next level advanced conversion strategies is my avatar is already making sales. And so I want to make sure that the content that I'm sharing is not for the beginner who hasn't yet made sales. And, you know, I don't want to go into like my own personal therapy session, but I've shared this with you guys before, which is I have a heart and a desire to help former LaTisha, right? To help the version of me who was like, I'm trying to figure out how to make it work and I just wish somebody would tell me. And so a lot of times, like a lot of the content that I share is me thinking about her. But when I when I had this conversation with my mentor, and I was like, you know what, that version of me also was really ambitious, and she also knew what she wanted, and she was ready to move forward, and she wanted to like leap over, steps 1, 2, and 3, even though she needed to do them, but she wanted to leap over steps 1, 2, and 3. And so like now I'm ready to speak to that higher version of myself, even though at that time I still wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do, how to do it, or how to get there. I knew what the vision was. And so that's the person that I'm speaking to. So, anyways, kind of a sidebar. But if you want to optimize this part for yourself, like think for yourself, like, are you speaking to the person who is like struggling and a little bit down about what they're doing and not sure if it's going to work? And, or are you speaking to the client that you are, hopefully, which is the person who is a high achiever, right? So like I've always said over and over again, I help high achievers. And a high achiever is someone who knows where they're going. They have that big vision for themselves and they're ready to take action and they're ready to leap there. They don't want to walk there. So think about that for yourself. Who is that person? Who is that avatar? And when you get really, really clear on that person, it's so much easier to create content that sells, so much easier to create content specifically for that person, specifically for that avatar. Now, if you're not even sure what I'm talking about, like what is an avatar? I did a video about how to create your ideal client avatar. It's here on the channel. You definitely want to check it out. But in the meantime, the avatar is just, it's like a short story. So it's a short story of, this is the person, these are their struggles, these are their goals. This is in general how they think. This is, how they would respond to such and such questions. And as you're putting that together, it really helps you kind of clarify who that person might be. Okay, makes sense? Okay, good. Carolyn says she's also selling confidence. Love it. Okay. I think I featured this one already, but just in case. All right, cool. Okay, next the second step, well, this is still step 1, which is optimize each step of the conversion journey. And so we also want to optimize that stage where people begin to research you, who you are, what you do, and kind of like your process. And what happens here is there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of, especially now with things like AI, where people are like, oh, I can create, a blog post in 15 seconds. There's just going to be so much content and information out there. That's my fear. My fear is that there's going to be so much junk. There's already a lot of junk on the internet, to be honest. My fear is that there's going to be so much junk now that it's so much easier for people to create content, and AI is just going to like keep creating the same piece of content from different pieces of content over and over and over again. My fear is that the content is going to become a commodity. And it's true. It already is. You can go to YouTube and you can type in 5 ways to X, or you can look for how to do XYZ. Perfect example, right? So as I was researching how to actually make this thing work, because unfortunately it doesn't come with a manual. It comes with a piece of paper that says, go here to go get the manual. As I was figuring out how to make that work, I went to YouTube. There are a lot of different YouTube videos. How do I know which YouTube video is the best video to choose? And also which one is actually going to have the information that I need, but also is going to be able to, where I'm going to be able to follow along. I'm looking for the personality. I'm looking for the person. I'm looking for the human being. So as this avatar, as this person is starting to research you and research the different options, if you are not fully being you, if you're not fully stepping into that confident power that you have and expressing yourself, they're going to see you as every other piece of content out there, and they're going to pass you by. And if you really want to attract the clients who are meant for you, you need to be all of you. You need to be fully you. So the easiest way to optimize for this part of the journey is to truly be all of you. And if you notice, like I share different things on every platform. Like Facebook is, I usually share like my musings, right? Things that I'm thinking about. I talked about how there was some, old stuff on Google Drive and like just random, kind of like some random things. And I also share some business stuff sometimes. And then Instagram, I really share more of like my personal life, my journey to the stage, and things that I'm thinking, food that I'm eating. And then I also share my professional like modeling career that I'm working on. And I put those in the feed. I'll share reels of, good content for like business style content. And then on LinkedIn, obviously, I rarely get on there. But my point is that every platform has its own specific vibe. And if you're only sharing like 5 ways to do XYZ or 3 things you need before you, ding dang dong, people are over it. They're inundated with it, and you're going to blend in. You do not want to blend in. You want to stand out. The only way to stand out is to show your personality, showcase your personality and your you. You have to be you. You can't just regurgitate something that you spun off an AI website. Sorry, you can't. You guys picking up what I'm putting down? Okay, good. Awesome. All right. And then the final piece of optimizing each step of the conversion journey is the discovery. So this is when they first discover you. And typically this part of the process is they don't really know you. They don't really know who you are. And you don't have a whole lot of control over this, with the exception of usually what happens is they're in search mode. So they're looking for something and they want an answer to a specific question. This is part of what I'm going to be covering in the Create Content That Sells challenge. A lot of C's in that one also. But I'll be talking about how to actually enter the conversation the person is already having in their head, and then creating the content that you need in order to be discovered as the potential answer to that solution, answer to that problem, and so that you can kind of move them down this journey. But the way we optimize this part is we have to know, what are people asking? What are they searching for? What are they looking for? What questions do they have before they realize that they need our help, that they need our solution, that they need XYZ thing? What's the first question? What's the problem? I like to call this like the pillow talk problem. Like, what is the problem that they're talking about right before they go to bed, right before they lay their head on the pillow? That's the pillow talk problem. And then how are they talking about it? What words are they using? When you know these things, you'll be able to bring a flood of people in because you know exactly what's going on in the conversation that they're having in their head. And once again, this process is not difficult, but it's very nuanced. And that's why I want to share it and cover it during the challenge. Okay. Thank you. I'm actually a published model at this point because I was in a magazine. So I enjoyed that. Zan says, we just need to separate ourselves from the masses by being more than content. That is it. 100%. Because no one can be uniquely you. Nancy says, I'm using AI to gather data and then editing it with my personality. Perfect. So it essentially it ends up being an aid and a helper rather than a crutch, because a lot of people are going to just end up using it as a crutch of, okay, think for me. And what you're going to see, like I kind of already see this happening, you're going to see the decline of people paying attention to content only. And you're going to see the rise of the creator, which we're already seeing it, but you're going to see the rise of the creator who is the attractive character. Not attractive like they look good, but meaning that they have a passion about what they do and they're prolific and they have an opinion and they don't just regurgitate stuff that they found online. And that is where you want to be. You want to be at the forefront of that, not like trying to catch up because, you created an article about, 3 ways to groom your dog. Okay. Good. Okay. Good. All right. Okay, that was step one. So we're now moving into step two of the next level conversion strategies. And let me just make it a little bit cooler in here. Okay. That's upstairs. Okay, perfect. There it is. They are kicking in. Okay, so step two of our next level conversion strategy is to make your offer hyper targeted. So when I say this, right now there's a proliferation of people who are stepping online. You can be in South Africa and book a client in Texas. You can be in the UK and book a client in Australia. You can be in Georgia and book a client who lived in Montserrat. There's a lot of, like, we live in a global community. We live in a global community. We live in a global community, period. So therefore, you now have competition with everybody in the world. I hope that scares you a little bit. It scared me a little bit when I started thinking about it. I was like, oh yeah, I'm not only competing with people in my local area. I'm not only competing, I'm pretty much competing with anyone who can speak English because the clients that I typically work with can speak English. So that's it. Like, that's my competition. So if you think about that and you think about all of the potential people that you could be competing with, you have to have a hyper targeted offer. You have to have a hyper targeted offer. You have to stand out. You cannot blend in. You cannot offer the same thing that other people are offering. And this is why, like I mentioned, you'll notice that my messaging has shifted a little bit and even what I'm sharing. So part of the Create Content That Sells challenge was a challenge for me as well to start narrowing down and niching down my content and also what I'm speaking about and what I'm offering. So right now, what you'll notice is I'm talking a lot more about one thing that I'm really good at, which is creating a 5-figure offer. And the reason that I even discovered this, because a lot of times you have a hard time figuring out what your zone of genius is. The reason that I discovered this is I just started thinking back, like, what am I really good at? And I know that I'm really good at helping clients raise their rates, but like, what am I really good at? And I started looking back at when I first started, like, how did I go from 800 to charging 2,000 to charging 3,000 to charging 5,000 to charging 10,000? When I really had just started. Like, I was charging 10,000 for my coaching offer back in, before I even hit 6 figures. This was back in 2018, I want to say, when I booked my first 5-figure client. And so when I thought about that, I was like, oh, I didn't have a whole lot of experience, but I knew how to remove the subconscious blocks that were in the way of me reaching my full potential. At that point, my full potential was, it's time for you to charge 5 figures and capture more of the value that you're offering to clients. So when I realized that, I was like, oh, every single one of my clients should have a 5-figure offer. And if I don't think the client can have a 5-figure offer, I shouldn't be working with those clients. And so that's why my positioning and my marketing, my messaging has tightened up just a little bit. And I've turned a couple of people away recently because, like, there's one person I was chatting with and I was like, hey, I can't help you with that. Why? I know it's not a 5-figure offer. So I'm really good at that. And I know that, like, I know that deeply. And therefore, it's easy for me to be hyper targeted. You also have to be hyper targeted in what you're offering. This is your next level conversion strategy. When you're hyper targeted, your messaging will speak directly to the person who's like, oh, I want to create a 5-figure offer. And I want to work with someone who can help me release the money mindset and blocks that I have about doing that. and I'm ready to do it right now. Like the whatever your ideal client is and who you want to speak to, when you get really hyper targeted, they will raise their hand. Okay. Um, Good. I don't see it as competition. I'm excited. I see it as global opportunities, global collaborations, and partnerships. It's all of that and more. It's still competition though. I I made the mistake when I was newer in my business of saying, "Oh, I don't have competition." You have competition. I've had people who offer something similar before I was very specific about what I offer, to like talk to clients I had previously worked with and have those clients start working with them. You do have competition. So, yes, there are opportunities. Yes, there are partnerships, but yes, there's also competition, and you have to be prepared for that. Step 3 of your next level conversion strategy is to create what I call a kitchen sink offer. A kitchen sink offer for your high ticket client, for your premium client, doesn't mean that you're throwing in like a bunch of junk. Okay. And I kind of like don't like the word kitchen sink offer anymore because it sounds like, oh, give them everything except for the kitchen sink. But when we think about it, it really means that you are offering them all of the things that they need to succeed, but only what they need to succeed. And we're not really just like throwing in a bunch of this other stuff. We're not just like throwing in, worksheets if they don't need it. We're not doing all these extra calls if they don't need it. I was having a conversation with another client where she was trying to figure out like what calls she should offer and how she should structure her 5-figure offer. And she wanted to do weekly calls. And I asked, does that actually help them? If you do weekly calls, weekly one-on-one calls, does it actually help them get the outcome and the result? Or do they need time and space to process? And I'm not going to go into the whole conversation that we had, but I just want you to reflect for yourself, like, are the things that you're putting in your offer what you actually need? Even for me and for the past 6 figures, like we used to have 3 calls a week. I was listening. I laughed when I heard it. I was listening to some old live streams that I did. And I was talking about like, oh yeah, we just met. It's Saturday morning. We just met. And we also meet on Wednesday. Like we were meeting Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, 3 times a week, every single week when I first launched the Path to 6 Figures. And then I realized we don't need to meet so often. We don't need to meet so often. Why? Because you need time to get stuff done. And if I don't give you space and time to get stuff done, you're going to just keep coming to the calls and being like, okay, well, I'm here. Like, no, that's not what we're doing. Okay. So think about like your kitchen sink offer. What do you need in order to make sure it has just the pieces that your client needs to succeed? Okay. Good. King says we all have competition, including being a better version of yourself from yesterday. Absolutely. 100%. Which reminds me of getting on stage and like looking at where I was before versus like where I am now. I'm super excited. I've already won in my mind, but I'm still going for that pro card. Okay, and then the final step of this next level conversion strategy is make it easy to say yes and hard to say no. Make it easy to say yes and make it hard to say no. So what does this mean? Sometimes when y'all are offering, making your offer, and if you feel like people are just not saying yes or they're not taking action right away, it's because you're making it easy to say no. So you have to make it easy to say yes and make it really, really hard to say no. So how do you do this? First thing is you need to understand what the person actually wants. What do they desire? And this is why you have to log the hours and the time of hosting calls and having conversations and doing surveys and really getting to the root of what do people want. A perfect example is I sent out a survey for the Create Content That Sells challenge, and I got all these responses back of, this is what I want, this is the issue I'm having, this is in the way, XYZ thing. And I could tell, like after reading those responses and after putting together the sales page based on those responses, I could tell that I still didn't hit on the true fear, the true desire. And therefore, I have to go back to the drawing board. And the reason that I share this with you, and I'm very transparent about it, is that when you don't know what the other person actually wants, it's very difficult to make the sale. It's very difficult to make the sale. Why? Because you think they want this thing, and maybe they even said they want this thing, and but your conversation is about this other thing, right? So you have to understand, what do they actually desire, so that you can make it easy for them to say yes. And I had a conversation with a business friend. We do like a meeting we have like a mini mastermind we do every Friday. And I started asking her, I was like, okay, can you answer these questions based on, I don't want to give it away, but I started asking her about the Content That Sells challenge and kind of getting her feedback. And I had some aha moments. I was like, oh, I'm selling the wrong thing, right? I'm not hitting on the exact thing that I need to hit on in order to make it easy to say yes. So if you're not sure, how do I make it easy to say yes? What you want to do is you want to go back to clients that have already bought, clients who have already worked with you, clients who have already purchased, and you want to ask them, why did you choose to buy? What ultimately made you decide to sign up? Why did you decide that now was the right time and you couldn't wait until later, that you had to do it right now? There was an urgency to it. What made you say yes? And once you determine that, you'll determine what they're actually buying. And then you can make it easy to say yes by crafting your content and speaking the language around what they're actually buying. So once I determined that and I got much more clear on that, I was like, oh, this is even positioned incorrectly. It's not positioned for the right person. And positioning is about the messaging, but it's also about the pricing. And so I had to update the pricing. I had to update the positioning. And there are certain things that you're going to have to do so that you can make it easy for someone to say yes, and then also make it hard for them to say no. When you know exactly what they desire and the thing that they're actually buying, they're not just buying the phone calls with you. And I know I've said this several times, but I feel like I have to say it again. People are not buying your coaching sessions. They're not buying your coaching sessions. They don't care about weekly coaching sessions. I think I said it like 3 times. They are not buying your coaching sessions. They're buying an outcome. They're buying something on the other side. They're purchasing the destination. And if you don't know what the destination is, you're going to try to sell, hey, I'm going to take you to Turks and Caicos, when they actually really want to go to Brazil. Just an example. But you have to know, what is my client actually buying? What do they actually desire? And if you don't know that and you need some help with that, then reach out. And I will end on that, which is one of the things that I'm really good at is helping you figure out what your offer should be, helping you figure out who your highest value avatar is, like the person that is ready to purchase and ready to make that VIP investment with you, and also how to actually do that positioning and all of that. So if you need help with that, I'll leave a link in the description, or you can go to you'vegotclients.com/apply. That's really, really long. You'vegotclients.com/apply. You can apply for a call with my team, and we'll talk about that. We'll talk about your pricing. We'll talk about your offer. We'll talk about where you are right now, where you'd like to go, what's in the way. And if we can help you, and I'm confident that I can help you create a 5-figure offer for maybe not your existing clients, but it's probably going to, end up being some sort of repositioning. We'll definitely let you know and invite you to work with me and some new offers that I got going on. So what questions do we got? Cool. Chris says, this is very helpful. Ooh, thank you for the super chat or super sticker. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's see what else we got. Tacinda says, make it easy to say yes and hard to say no. I love it here. I love having you here. I'm excited. What made them say yes is part of your measurements. This is important feedback. Yeah, so let me just clarify that, because if you're not sure like where to put that, a really good place to put that is if you have a free Facebook group that comes along with your program. One of the questions should be, what ultimately made you decide to purchase? If you have a intake form after a client signs up, a good question to put on there is, what made you ultimately decide to invest? And when you get those answers back, like I have a full log of those for clients who sign up for the Path to 6 Figures. And what does that do? It helps me figure out, number one, what content I need to create for the person who's ready to invest, right? Because if someone said, this is the reason that I invested, I'm like, okay, great. Now that I know that, I can create this piece of content that says, here's what you need, and here's why you're not getting to the place you want. If this is what you want, go and book a call, right? It's part of the reason why, like I mentioned, I'm really focused in on working with clients who want to create a 5-figure offer and raise their rates, because I know how powerful it is and how it can absolutely change your life. So therefore, why would I spend time talking about the things that you don't want when I know the thing that you do want is you want to have that confidence in yourself. You want to have those results that my 6 and 7-figure clients have had. And if I can help you get there by sharing advanced things just like this, that's what I'll be doing. So I don't see any other questions, but if we do have other questions, let me know. Getting good at asking the right questions for what a client wants. Absolutely. Client feedback is key. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me on today's training. If you have other questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Also, do me a favor. If you're watching this on the replay, comment below and let me know, what do you sell? And I would love to get the conversation started there. Until next time, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button. Remember that your dreams deserve your decision, and you deserve to achieve your dreams, but only if you decide to do whatever it takes to get them. So go dream, decide, do, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Okay, bye.